For years, people have repeated one haunting question, a question that keeps pilots awake at night, shakes investigators even today, and stands as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 21st century. How does a modern Boeing 777, one of the safest, smartest, and most trackable aircraft ever built, simply disappear without a single distress call, without a trace, as if swallowed by the sky itself? On a warm night in 2014, 239 people boarded Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. They took their seats, buckled in, adjusted their pillows, sent last-minute texts, and expected nothing more than a routine overnight journey. But within hours, the flight would vanish so completely that even military radars, satellites, and multinational search teams worth billions of dollars failed to locate it. And here is the chilling part. Everything you're about to hear is based on verified, credible, officially documented facts. Nothing speculative, nothing invented. Only what the world actually knows and still cannot explain. Before we dive into this chilling story, the clues, the strange cockpit silence, the unexplained turns, the signals detected hours after the aircraft vanished, make sure you're subscribed, because the full truth behind MH370 is not just a story. It's a puzzle stretched across continents, oceans, and human decisions. And in this series, we are breaking it down piece by piece, fact by fact, exactly as the investigation uncovered it. Now let's go back to the night of March 8, 2014. The night routine turned into the impossible. It was just past midnight in Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, a Boeing 777, prepared for departure to Beijing. Everything about the aircraft was normal. The weather, clear. The maintenance record, clean. The plane, equipped with one of the most reliable systems in commercial aviation. The 239 souls on board included business professionals, families, students, and an experienced flight crew. Now here is where the mystery begins. The flight was commanded by Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a 53-year-old pilot with over 18,000 flight hours, veteran with decades of experience on the Boeing 777. Beside him sat First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, 27 years old, with nearly 2,800 flight hours. Both pilots had passed training. Both had clean medical and professional records. Everything suggested a routine night. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. But within an hour, the world would lose them entirely. At 12:41 a.m., MH370 takes off. Smooth departure, normal climb. Once the aircraft reached its assigned altitude of 35,000 feet, communications continued exactly as they should. At 1:07 a.m., the aircraft's ACAR system, which is like its text messaging service, sent its final scheduled data transmission. Everything appeared normal. Fuel, altitude, speed, all within the expected range. The flight was heading northeast over the Gulf of Thailand. No warnings, no system errors, no panic, nothing. Now comes the moment that sends a chill through every investigator. At 1:19 a.m., as the aircraft prepared to leave Malaysian airspace and enter Vietnamese-controlled airspace, Air Traffic Control issued a standard instruction, MH370, contact Ho Chi Minh on 120.9. The reply came a few seconds later. Good night, Malaysian 3-7-0.com/normal. Routine. These were the last confirmed words ever heard from MH370. At 1:21 a.m., exactly 2 minutes after that final message, MH370 disappeared from civilian radar. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly. This single event triggered one of the largest aviation mysteries in history. Civilian radar couldn't see the plane anymore because its transponder, its main tracking device, was no longer transmitting. A transponder doesn't turn off by itself. It has to be manually switched off or lose power entirely. But here's the verified fact. Despite the transponder going dark, the aircraft kept flying. Because military radars, unlike civilian tracking systems, don't rely on the transponder. Here's where the story becomes almost surreal. Instead of continuing toward Vietnam, MH370 made a sharp, intentional left turn so precise that aviation experts say it had to be made by someone with knowledge of commercial aircraft controls. The aircraft turned back across the Malaysian peninsula. It flew near Penang Island, then continued northwest into the Strait of Malacca. This is not a small deviation. This is a complete reversal of direction, and no distress signal was ever sent. Military radar confirmed the plane was still flying for nearly an hour after civilian tracking lost it. Every minute raises more questions than answers. After leaving Malaysian military radar coverage, the aircraft was no longer visible by normal tracking. But one system that even the pilots could not disable entirely continued to create clues. The Inmarsat satellite. This satellite exchanged hourly handshakes with the aircraft, known as pings. They do not reveal the exact location, but they confirm one chilling fact: MH370 continued flying for approximately 7 more hours, 7 hours, across thousands of kilometers, with no radio contact, no transponder, no known destination, and 239 people aboard. This is not speculation. This is officially verified. Based on the satellite data, investigators determined two possible flight paths. The first was a northern corridor crossing Asia toward Kazakhstan. The second was a southern corridor down into the vast, empty Indian Ocean. Through complex analysis of signal timing and physics, the investigation reached a heartbreaking conclusion. The aircraft went south, into one of the most remote and unforgiving parts of the planet. The last satellite handshake occurred at 8:19 a.m., nearly 8 hours after takeoff. This is thought to be the moment the aircraft likely ran out of fuel. A few minutes later, a second signal was detected, a log-on request, interpreted as a sign of power loss, followed by a system reboot. This is believed to be the moment MH370 made its final descent, where no one knows, not precisely. And that is where the global search and our next chapter begins. For now, this is where we end part 1. A plane that took off from Kuala Lumpur sent a calm final message, then made an unexplained turn, flew for hours without communication, and vanished beyond the edges of the known tracking world. Everything you heard is verified, and yet nothing is fully explained. For days after MH370 vanished, the world believed the same lie. A lie written by silence. The lie that the ocean was empty. The lie that radar sees everything. The lie that a modern plane simply cannot disappear. But on the morning after that final satellite handshake, the truth hit harder than any disaster in modern aviation. No one knew where the plane was. No one even knew which direction it had gone for that first crucial hour. And no one wanted to accept how little the world actually understood about the skies. Countries blamed each other. Radars contradicted radars. Data shifted. And beneath it all was one terrifying fact. MH370 had slipped through every system designed to prevent a disappearance. Now, the search began. Not with clarity, but with chaos. When MH370 missed its scheduled arrival in Beijing, air traffic control notified Malaysian authorities. And here comes the strangest verified detail of all. Malaysia did not immediately declare the aircraft missing. They believed, incorrectly, that MH370 might still be flying, or that it had landed somewhere unexpectedly. Hours passed, precious hours. Hours when radar data could have been analyzed and search teams mobilized. Instead, the world waited, and the ocean kept its silence. It wasn't until 7:24 a.m., almost an hour after the plane's fuel would have run out, that Malaysia Airlines announced MH370 was missing. By then, the aircraft could have been anywhere across an area the size of a continent, because MH370 vanished from civilian radar while heading toward Vietnam. The first search focused on the South China Sea. Dozens of ships, aircraft, and military vessels were deployed. But everything was based on one assumption, that the plane had stayed on its original course. It hadn't. And this was a mistake with consequences, because while search teams scanned the wrong ocean, MH370's true path over the Malaysian peninsula and out into the Indian Ocean remained hidden inside military radar data that had not yet been analyzed. Not for minutes, not for hours, but for days. On March 11th, 3 days after the disappearance, Malaysian military officials reviewed their long-range radar logs. What they saw changed the entire investigation. A large aircraft, matching MH370's radar signature, had turned sharply west, flown back into Malaysian airspace, crossed over Penang Island, and then headed northwest across the Strait of Malacca. This was no drifting plane. These were deliberate turns, executed with precision. When this information became public, the reaction worldwide was the same. How could a Boeing 777 fly through multiple countries? airspaces without triggering a single military interception. The unsettling answer is that most nations do actively monitor peacetime radar screens at night, unless an aircraft shows signs of aggression. MH370 had flown quietly, silently. It had slipped through the cracks of global air defense like a ghost. By March 15th, the satellite company Inmarsat released something extraordinary. MH370 had been handshaking with their satellites for almost 7 hours after its last message. This handshake wasn't data. It was simply an automated check-in, a ping. But it proved beyond doubt that MH370 was flying long after the world lost sight of it. From those pings, investigators built the Nephemus arc, a curve across the Indian Ocean representing possible positions the plane could have been at each handshake. There were 2 arcs, a northern one stretching across Central Asia, and a southern one plunging deep into the Indian Ocean. International intelligence agencies quickly ruled out the northern path. No radar system from India, Pakistan, China, or any country along that route detected an unidentified aircraft that night. That left one possibility. One frightening, lonely possibility. MH370 went south, into the Indian Ocean, toward nothing and no one. The search moved instantly, thousands of kilometers away, to the most remote ocean on Earth. Now, the world united. Countries that hadn't spoken in years suddenly shared data, ships, and expertise. Australia took command of the southern Indian Ocean search. The scale was unprecedented. Over 120,000 square kilometers scanned. Dozens of naval ships, advanced sonar, deep-sea drones, and aircraft sweeping the surface for debris. And yet, the Indian Ocean answered every question with silence. No debris, no signal, no oil slick, nothing. It was like the ocean had erased the plane. But then, the Indian Ocean revealed its first clue. On July 29, 2015, nearly 16 months after the disappearance, a beach cleaner on Reunion Island found an object washed ashore. A large, barnacle-covered aircraft part, a flaperona control surface from the wing of a Boeing 777. There was only one Boeing 777 missing on the planet. The debris was sent to France for forensic analysis, and the results were undeniable. It belonged to MH370 for the first time. The world had physical proof the aircraft had ended in the Indian Ocean. The search area was correct. But the ocean was vast, and currents had carried debris thousands of kilometers. The discovery meant one thing: the aircraft had shattered on impact, and the main wreckage lay somewhere on the ocean floor, still undiscovered. Over the next 2 years, more confirmed MH370 debris washed ashore in Mozambique, Tanzania, Mauritius, and South Africa. Each piece was verified by aviation experts, matching the plane's unique serial numbers or construction patterns. But none of the debris solved the mystery of where the aircraft had gone down. They were only fragments scattered by powerful ocean currents. One investigator described it perfectly. It is like trying to find the location of a shattered mirror by studying the reflections. The search continued, relentlessly, scientifically, and with growing desperation. Search teams deployed autonomous underwater vehicles capable of scanning the ocean floor with high-resolution sonar. The Indian Ocean's depths reached 6,000 meters high pressure, freezing temperatures, rugged underwater mountains, and hidden trenches. The drones mapped areas never before seen by humans, finding steep ridges, subsea volcanoes, and canyons deeper than skyscrapers, but not a single trace of MH370. By 2017, the official search was suspended after covering an area larger than England. But the families of the passengers refused to give up. In 2018, Ocean Infinity, a deep-sea exploration firm, launched a new search. They used multiple underwater drones capable of scanning larger areas faster than ever before. The company agreed they would only be paid if they found MH370. For months, they scanned the ocean floor, day and night, through storm after storm. In the end, they found nothing. But Ocean Infinity did locate previously unknown underwater features, adding invaluable knowledge to the world. Still, MH370 remained missing. One search director said something unforgettable. "We searched the world's loneliest ocean for a ghost that never wanted to be found." After years of international inquiry, here is what investigators confirmed with certainty. The aircraft turned back intentionally. The transponder was manually disabled. The aircraft continued flying for 7 hours. Its final path was toward the southern Indian Ocean, and the plane ended in that ocean. The exact crash location remains unknown. These 6 facts form the backbone of everything we know. Everything else, every motive, every theory lies outside confirmed evidence. This is what makes this story so chilling. Even with the most advanced global technology and the largest search operation in history, MH370 remains unfound. And that leaves us with the one question no one can answer. If we can find MH370, what else can we lose in the sky? If the world can lose a Boeing 777, if radar can stay silent, if satellites can only whisper in riddles, then what does that say about everything we believe makes us safe in the sky? That question was the only thing left after years of searching, scanning, and mapping the loneliest ocean on Earth. Every confirmed fact pointed to one truth. MH370 did not simply disappear. It evaded, it endured. It outflew every assumption the modern world held about aviation. And now, we arrive at the final chapter. Not the end of the mystery, because the mystery has no end, but the end of what the world knows with certainty. This is where the story turns darker, deeper, and more unsettling. Because this isn't about how MH370 vanished. It's about what its disappearance revealed about our technology, our skies, and our own human blind spots. And the verified truth is more disturbing than any theory. When the official search ended, most of the world moved on. News cycles shifted. Governments closed their reports. But a small number of investigators experts from Australia, the United States, France, and Malaysia fused to let the trail go cold. These weren't theorists or speculators. They were scientists, aviation engineers, and satellite analysts. And when they re-examined the facts, they found that everything led to a single verified reality. MH370's path was controlled until the final hours. This wasn't guesswork. It was an established conclusion, supported by verified satellite Doppler shifts, altitude change evidence, the precision of the turnback maneuver, and the specific route flown along the southern arc. This was no drifting aircraft. It was being flown. And that was a conclusion investigators did not want to accept, because the alternative was far more frightening. There's one piece of satellite data the world rarely discusses, called burst frequency offset, or BFO. In simple terms, BFO tells us if the aircraft was climbing, descending, or level at each satellite handshake. And the final handshake revealed something chilling. MH370 was in a rapid, controlled descent. Not a stall, not a freefall, a fast, steep descent, consistent with a deliberate action. This means one thing. MH370 didn't glide silently into the ocean. It plunged. It likely broke apart on impact, which explains why the initial searches found no floating debris fields. The ocean swallowed almost everything before the world even knew where to look. This leads to the darkest question of all. Why the South? Why would a fully capable aircraft head into the desolate southern Indian Ocean region with no islands, no airstrips, no communication, no ships, and no possibility of rescue? Investigators explored every factual angle. Mechanical failure? Impossible. The plane flew for 7 hours after its transponder went silent. A fire on board? Also impossible. A fire that severe wouldn't allow 7 hours of continuous flight, hypoxia, or hijacking. Neither fits the evidence of the controlled, precise turns. Each possibility collapsed under scrutiny. This left the world with only one confirmed certainty. The plane's final route was purposeful. But purpose without answers is not clarity, it is fear. For the families of the 239 people on board, the greatest pain wasn't just the loss. It was the unanswered questions. They begged for clarity, holding photos and signs demanding truth. But the verified information they received was always the same. The plane turned back, it flew for 7 hours. It went south. It ended in the Indian Ocean. The wreckage has not been found. The ocean had taken everything else. When MH370 vanished, it exposed a flaw the world didn't know existed. Over oceans, aircraft are not tracked in real time. A modern jet could disappear over open water and remain untracked for hours. This tragedy forced the world to confront that weakness. Because of it, new systems were created. Mandatory tracking over oceans, improved satellite communication, and real-time distress signal triggers. These weren't inventions. They were corrections to a world that believed it was unbreakable, until it broke. One of the most unsettling facts comes from Australian investigators. There is a section of the Indian Ocean, just north of the original search zone, that was never fully scanned. Why? Because the priority area was calculated using the best available data at the time. Only years later did independent analyses and drift studies suggest the true impact location might be slightly farther north. This unsearched corridor is vast, deep, and rugged. Today, it may hold the only remaining answers. As one Australian coordinator said, if MH370 is anywhere, it is in that corridor. It is the last blind spot, a place where the ocean floor remains unseen, where silence might still be hiding the truth. Investigators assembled the final verified timeline. At 1:20 a.m., communication ends. The transponder stops. By 2:25 a.m., satellite contact returns, proving the plane is still electrically alive. For the next 5 hours, a series of satellite handshakes confirm it is still flying. At 8:19 a.m., the last known transmission is received as the plane begins its steep descent. This timeline is undisputed, and between each of those time-stamped pings lies silence. Silence from the cockpit, silence from the radios, silence from the passengers, and silence from the world. But now, there is renewed hope. In 2024, the company Ocean Infinity announced its interest in launching a new search, using upgraded autonomous vehicles and more accurate data. They believe they can find MH370 and are willing to return to the cold, dark depths of that unsearched corridor. Malaysia has stated it is open to approving the mission. For the first time in years, there is a real possibility of finding answers. So here's the truth, stripped to its core. We know MH370 turned back intentionally. We know its transponder was disabled. We know it flew for 7 more hours on a controlled route south and ended in the Indian Ocean, which is proven by verified debris. We do not know why. We do not know what happened inside the cockpit or the exact crash site. This is the final boundary of verified history. Everything beyond it belongs to the ocean. In the end, MH370 is not just a tragedy, it is a revelation. It revealed the limits of global surveillance and the fragility of our assumptions. And above all, it revealed how silence can be louder than truth. Not every story ends. Some simply fade into the horizon, where radar cannot see and answers dissolve into waves. Somewhere in the Indian Ocean, beneath cold water and unbroken darkness, the final chapter rests, waiting, enduring, silent, until the day the ocean returns what it took. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay updated on this story and others like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.